Welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. I'm Miko Love from thebudgetmom.com and
Surprise!
surprise, surprise, we have Ryen here. I do apologize. You might hear some background noise, things. It's crazy around here. Okay, I'm making it
We're
work.
doing our best.
Yes, but we have Ryen back because it's been a while since
Like
we
over a
have,
year.
yeah, since we have done any type of budget recap. Yeah, over a year since my mom passed in April.
April, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought it'd be fun today to kind of do like a budget update with you because I know it's been like we were talking about a while since you've been
Yeah.
on here. So let us know. First, I know we get a ton of questions about your debt-free journey.
Yeah.
Because the last time that we really shared that, I think you were a year out
I was.
from being debt-free. Let us know,
Mhm.
where are you at with that?
Well, I am debt free now.
What?
So I know it's weird. And it took me longer than I hoped just because, life happens and we had some family stuff and, everything that happened with my niece and her mom and kind of, I don't want to say parenting her, but Cody and I have definitely stepped into that role of helping raise her because right now it's just my brother.
Mhm.
My mom lives 3 hours south, so we've all just kind of had to put our heads together and figure out what the heck we're doing and how the heck to raise a little child.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what
Well,
that's what I've been so busy with. And obviously that comes with a ton of expenses. I don't
mhm.
my brother, he's obviously a single dad at this point, and financially it's just him. And I'm sure all parents know how outrageous it is raising a little one. I didn't know until I had Ryen. So that's kind of what took so much longer than I had hoped. But at the end of it, I'm debt free now. And I actually just became debt free back in March. So I've been trying to figure out like what's next. Like, what do I do
So
next? And
like March, I mean, that's just like now.
I know, literally, it is like now. It is like
Like,
now.
I
And
mean,
so,
March was last, we're
right,
filming this right now on April 3rd. So March was just last month. And I know too, like, this is just a great example that life happens. And, a lot of people get in that mindset when these bumps happen, the bumps in the road, we get set back of feeling very discouraged. But I
yeah,
think it brings a lot of hope, even with such huge life changes, as long as you stay consistent, and long as you stay the course, being debt free is an outcome that you can get to.
right. And there were months, like you just said, Miko, how it's kind of discouraging. There were months like right after Ryland's mom had passed that I was like, screw it, screw this.
Yeah.
Like my money was just going everywhere, new car seats, new clothes. We had nothing. So it was just like it was nuts. And I just felt like, okay, well, this is my life. I'm done. Like I'm done. And it's hard to stay motivated during that time and like see that light at the end of the tunnel, especially because before all this happened with Ryland's mom, I have such a clear vision about it. And then Ryland's mom passed away, and it just kind of like all threw up into shambles. Like what do I do with my life now? And it's just it's obviously a lot of work and it was hard. And there were times where I did stop budgeting for a couple months. And
Yep.
it's just something that you just kind of have to realize that, you have to see the bigger picture, that I couldn't get to this point and like being debt free without, having to go through all that. And sure, I spent money on things that I didn't plan to, or I didn't really even want to,
Right.
but
Right.
that's just how life is
It
sometimes.
is,
And
it is how life is. And don't forget, like, this transition with you kind of stepping into that role of helping raise your niece, that also included a really big move out of state to
right,
to be closer to family. I mean, you moved from Washington State to Kansas to
right.
make that happen. So there was moving expenses and
Yeah.
all those things. Okay, so we're debt free.
Right. So like now what's next? And Cody and I, we've decided that we don't want, especially now with Ryland kind of being, our baby, we've kind of learned, well, at this time, we don't want kids of our own just because him and I value art. I know it sounds so, I know, right? That's such like an
No,
unpopular thing to say these
no,
days.
that's okay. That's okay. You know what? It's funny though. The reason I laugh is because it's true. You don't know all the. I will just say this, okay? I just had a baby. My baby boy Dante just turned 8 months old, and I will say this right now. I don't care if you're a stay-at-home mom, working mom, throwing your kid in daycare, whatever. I mean, parenting is hard.
It's hard and it's a lot. Like
Yes,
it's hard. It's
it
hard. And
is
it's hard,
hard.
like it's hard being in a parenting role and like, having a little one that looks up to you and like when you go through hard times, we
Mhm,
all go through hard times and feeling emotions and like that,
mhm.
we all need a good cry every now and then,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But you can't do that in front of a little one. And that's been hard for me to do is, it's very overwhelming for me because I didn't want kids. And I valued kind of traveling, and I don't even know if I want to buy a house because I just love,
Yeah.
I don't know where I want to be like settled down. My family is
Yes.
just kind of everywhere. So it's just a
It
lot.
is a lot, and the reason I laugh, though, is because you don't really know the hard work, I feel like, of parenting until you're kinda thrown in that role, and, like, like, people have asked me before, would I have kids today knowing what I now know now after having 2 children with, 12 years apart, 1
Right.
vaginally delivery, 1 C-section.
Right.
I've kind of had it all, kind
Right.
of.
You've got to experience all
Yeah,
of
I
the
kinda
realms.
experienced it all. Would I still have kids? Yes, I absolutely would, but I will say this, I never in a million years thought about the mental aspect. I know that being a parent is physically challenging, right? It's tiring, like the lack of sleep, like
Right.
physically it's challenging, but
Mhm.
I knew mentally it might be hard as well, but never like I have experienced, especially with Dante, having him as when I'm older.
Right. Right. Right.
And so I think it's great that like, hey, this is what I want for my life. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong about not wanting to have kids. I think
Mhm.
that's so funny that that's an unpopular thing to say.
It is. It
For
really
me, I
is.
think that's a responsible thing to say.
Right.
I don't know.
That's my mentality too. Like, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, having kids is not for everyone, and,
Yeah.
it's funny because my sister and I are complete opposites. I always knew I wanted to be a mom, I wanted to be a wife, and that's the type of life I wanted to have. My sister, though, on the other hand, was like, "I don't want kids,"
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
like from, like, a really, really young age.
Wow.
Like, that's
Wow. She's
her
not.
that sh she just knew.
Wow.
So but yeah, but I mean, especially with you jumping into this parenting role, of course, there's gonna be new expenses. Do you think that going forward, now that you're debt free, going forward, you're gonna have some more money to allocate? That's funny because I was just working on my dream board, my vision
I
board
was
this
just watching
morning.
your stories before you
Yeah,
called.
I was working on my vision board, and it's like, you're gonna have not say extra, more income to throw
Right.
at, say, your dreams. Like,
Right.
what are your big dreams after being
Right.
debt free? Like, what
I know. And that's what's so hard, Miko, is I'm trying to like figure that out honestly because it's hard. My dad, my family is so just very different than most families. And the reason I say that is, long story short, for those who don't know, I grew up in a military family. So like 9 years of my childhood was overseas in Germany. So that, like, the four of us, my mom, my dad, my brother, and I, it was always us four, just because it was only us four because we were overseas. Well,
right.
right after I graduated high school, my parents got divorced. And at that time, my brother and I, we weren't close to any of our extended family because we didn't really know them because they weren't around in Germany, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, and with my parents meeting in the military, they both were in the military. So my dad's from Hawaii, like born and raised. My mom's from the smallest farm in the world in Oklahoma. So like their worlds are just so vastly different. And my brother and I are both, we just feel like lost little birdies, because we're like, what do we call home? We don't know. Do we have a home? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
what do we
yeah.
do? Where do we go?
Yeah, and I think a lot of military kids have that thought
Right,
and feel
right.
that way. Yeah.
And it's hard, because little, when you're small, you have all these, you have like I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna have a kid, I'm gonna live here, I'm gonna have this nice house, I'm gonna do this. And now that I'm like there, I'm like, I really don't know
And that's
what I
okay.
want to do.
I think it's a not knowing is an okay place to sit, especially
Yeah,
after such a change in your finances and
right,
hitting this big milestone. I remember when I was debt free, I was one of the things that really surprised me after I paid off all my debt, it was my fear. I was scared to do really anything because I was scared to use a credit card because I didn't want to go back into credit card debt. I was scared to buy lavish things that people, would see as maybe lavish or big
right,
expenses because I didn't want to get into that place where I was purchasing things on my credit card again and not being able to pay it off. I was kind
right.
of fear kind of took over. I mean, it took me
Wow.
almost 3 years to be able to use a credit card again after I paid off my debt because I didn't know if I could fully trust myself to pay it off every month.
I get that, Miko, because I feel like, I mean, I'm experiencing this now is what goes through my head, like what you were saying, you didn't trust yourself using a credit card is the mentality of I can afford,
Yes.
that because, I don't have any, I can afford it, or I can at least afford the minimum payment, I can at
Right,
least
right,
afford the
right.
minimum payment every single month. So I think that mentality is really hard. It's common, I feel, but I feel like it's really hard to like break through that.
Yeah, and especially when you pay off your debt, like, well, geez, I have all this income now, and
Right.
I can't afford this,
Right.
but it could lead to a bigger, deeper black hole because now you don't have that debt hanging over your head and you have kind of the freedom to spend at will, which can get really dangerous. I know one of the things that helped me was anytime, like when I were to make a really big purchase, whether it be for traveling or like a really expensive article of clothing, it was a want, right? Those things are a want. They're not a
Right.
necessity. But I'm a true believer. Everyone deserves those wants if they can spend responsibly.
That's so true.
The
Yep.
big thing that helped me was learning how to save. Like learning how to save properly for the things that I want. Okay, maybe I had a big travel expense that I know I wanted. It
Mhm.
may take me a little bit longer to save up for it and to purchase it that way responsibly rather than just swiping my card and getting it in the moment. But at
Right.
least I could pay for it knowing I had the money. It was just teaching me, like teaching myself to really have that patience and just waiting because I knew at the end of the day, I would feel better purchasing it knowing I saved the money than just swiping my card and knowing I didn't have the money to purchase it.
Right, or knowing like, "Oh, I can pay that off, in the next few
Right.
months, I'll pay it off," and then you never
Right.
do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. You
yeah,
never
yeah.
do. And that was my mentality for so long. So I save for everything. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, you have 10,000 sinking funds." Well,
Right,
I have a lot of savings accounts. Yes. But I think that comes from my personal journey and that fear.
I can understand that, Miko,
And
I understand that.
and does that say something about my relationship with money? Yes. Yes, it does. Is
Right,
it a
right,
completely healthy relationship? Probably not. And that's
right,
being
yeah,
honest because
yeah,
if you're feeling fear, if you're over saving, then you don't have a very healthy relationship when it comes to the spending of your money. And I go into
right,
that in the building blocks of budgeting course that you helped me create. It's one of those things where you have to ask yourself, am I okay sitting in this relationship that I have now? Or do I have to do things to improve it? And the way where I'm at is I'm okay sitting in this place because it's not hurting me financially,
right,
right?
right, right.
Right? It's just probably in some instances not the best use of my money,
I get that, Miko. I get that. And
you know?
I get that because like now, kind of being on the other end of that and having more, discretionary income to just not, it's not so tied down. I
Mhm.
think it's important to still make sure that like people ask you, I know people ask you all the time, why do you feel it necessary to save $12 a month for 4th of July in 2025?
Right.
You know, and at the end of the day, you're still allowing, that money is still working for you. You know yourself, like you said, from your journey.
Mhm.
July 4th, 2025 comes around, what if you don't have the money to cash flow it, and it
Exactly.
just kind of trickles from there.
Right, and it's just that fear of I never, ever, ever wanna ever again be put in the position where I have to use my credit card because I don't have the money to pay for something,
Yeah, yeah.
Especially, like, holidays. I feel like that's one of the expenses we all know it's coming.
And we all know it can be expensive.
Yeah, we all know Christmas is coming.
Right,
It surprises me that more people don't prepare way in advance for something like that because Christmas
right.
is and Black Friday and the end of the year holiday season is one of those holiday seasons that put so many people in debt.
You're right, every single year, right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we're debt. Holy crap.
I know. So
Ola.
now it's about just figuring out like, like you, Miko, you do such a good job about like planning so far in ahead. I'm like, yeah, sure, you might only save $4 towards a goal, but like you're still,
I'm
by the
planning,
time that
baby.
time comes, the money's gonna be there and you don't have to
Yep.
worry about it at that time. So
That's right.
and I think that's hard because whenever I did have debt, I had the mentality was like, oh, I don't need to save for that. $2, that's not gonna, $2 is $2. Like I never looked at it in the way of like you are setting yourself up for your future self. And
Yeah. Yeah.
now
And
being like debt free, it's more important. It's more important to,
oh,
honestly, because you have more money to kind of just
yes.
flow in a way.
Yes. It's more important than ever to have your dollars have those plans.
Right, right.
Are you still using the cash envelope method, or are you, because I know the last time we checked, you were 100% cashless.
Yep, yep. I do now for food, and that's it. Just
Yep.
because I struggle bus when it
I
comes to
think
food
we all do.
spending.
Girl,
It
I
is
just raised
ridiculous.
my food budget by
I saw
$400.
that, Miko. Oh my
And
gosh.
I'm doing the same thing. I have a cash envelope for food. I mean, this month I'm giving myself, I'm calling it a transition month, where I'm like, okay, I have this theory in my mind that my cash envelopes aren't working the way that I want. I'm going to give it one
Right,
more month to solidify that theory.
right.
This transition month. And then I think going into May, I'm only going to do one cash envelope, and it's only going to be for food because I have $900 now set aside a month for food. That blows my freaking mind.
That is unbelievable.
$900 a month. Wow.
That's unbelievable for you, Chris, and
Dante.
baby
Yeah,
and
me, Chris,
James.
and Dante. And then, of course, I have James every other week because I share custody with my ex-husband. So some weeks we're a family of 4, some weeks we're a family of 3, no dietary restrictions, but I have a preteen, okay, about to turn 13 years old, who's eating me out of house and home when he is here. I have a baby who is just now, we're doing baby led weaning and we're getting on the finger foods. And of
Oh,
course, like I am trying to stay away from like the packaged baby foods that are
yeah,
already, I enjoy like steaming up, sweet potatoes and, steaming up some peas and, making ground beef for him. And so that's also expensive. So I'm
right.
learning like Dante can eat what we can eat. It just has to be prepped a little bit differently. So all of that costs money. And then we, with the decision of trying to eat a little bit healthier, that's more expensive
Yep.
with just the normal cost of things going up. I just could not keep it at $500 a month, no matter how hard I tried. And I think I was in denial mode. I didn't want to make that huge jump. But at the end of the
Right.
day, we have to remember your budget isn't about what you want to spend. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. If my budget was what I want to spend all the time, I would have kept my food budget at $500. No one wants
Right.
to spend $900 a month on food. And I
Right.
know there are a lot of other community members out there who are way past $900. Ain't no judgment here. Okay. I know it's hard.
Right.
And so I had to do what I'm realistically spending.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, are you with your budget? And today, what we're going to do, this is just an intro to my budget recap for March. I'll be showing you a full budget recap. How'd you do for March?
Everything was good. Food, I was over again. I'm kind of struggling like you, Miko, and I think a lot
Yep.
of that still has to do with too, just with Rylan, because we do watch her a lot. We help my brother a lot with school and picking up and dropping off, and then weekends. There's a lot, so we do kind of have a little family of like 2.5.
Yep.
So our
Yep.
prices have definitely gone up. Luckily, though, there's an Aldi here where I live, and I know that there's not one in Spokane, and Aldi is just I don't know. I mean, I know how they get their prices so cheap. I understand that, but it is just unbelievable to me how much cheaper groceries are at Aldi versus like even Walmart,
That's
honestly.
funny because I didn't even think about that. Yeah, food prices also depends on where you shop.
Yeah.
Like I got so sick and tired of Walmart.
I
I
get that, Miko. I get
And so
that.
I started my favorite place to shop is Yolks or Fred Meyer's. And let
And
me
both
tell
of
you,
those are so
they
expensive.
are not cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Even Safeway, I think, is your other option there,
yeah,
and that's just as
say,
outrageous.
I don't go to Safeway as much, but man, I really gravitate towards because I found now that I love their natural areas
Oh,
in
Yolks
the
does have a
store.
good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we don't have I mean, we have our Trader Joe's, but let's be honest, Trader Joe's is not about healthy food. It's about organic food, and organic doesn't always mean healthy.
And very like
Sorry, not
convenient. I feel
sorry.
like Trader Joe's is so convenient, honestly.
Sorry, not sorry. I said it.
She
Okay.
said it.
Okay. I know everyone who loves Trader Joe's is coming at me in the comments right now, but it's true. It's true. I wanted like a Whole Foods or like the Nature Grocers or whatever it is. We have
Oh,
one, but it's like
right.
so far away from my house.
Right. They're
I
all the
would
way
spend more
north.
money in gas to get there than it would save me on groceries.
That's so true.
But yeah, I mean, I should start probably doing hashtag get it together Spokane, get an Aldi, because I really want one. I have so many community members reach out to me and say it's such a game changer.
It is. And I don't get everything there, but man,
Yeah.
it is crazy. It's crazy how affordable they really are.
Well, you're going to see in my budget, I went over big time in my food budget because remember, March is before I increase my food budget.
That's right. And you were
Yep.
pulling it from all your envelopes,
I'm
weren't
pulling
you?
it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's another thing. That's another really big red flag. Your budget is not working the way it should, is when you are pulling literally every dollar bill out of every other budget category in your cash envelopes just to pay for food. Something is not right there.
Yeah. Yeah,
You should
that's so
not,
true.
yeah, you should not be stealing from cash envelopes on a consistent basis. If you are, your budget categories need to be tweaked or changed or looked at pronto.
Yeah. That's such a good thing to show, Miko, about, how you're kind of working through the increase of your
Yeah, it
food budget.
sucks
Yeah, because I
because
know everybody deals with
yeah,
it.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's $400 that could be going towards my dream barn dominium.
Right. And that's a lot. That's really a big chunk of money that you have to allocate now towards
Yes,
food.
and it makes my heart so angry. Oh,
Gosh.
okay. So debt free, struggling with food, a lot of new expenses with baby Ryen. I shouldn't say
Yep.
baby because she's like a full
I
grown
know,
girl
but I
at this
still
point.
call her baby.
I know. I see pictures of her. I'm like, literally
How?
overnight, you sprung into a woman. I don't
I
even know.
know, and she wears glasses, and
I
it's
know.
just the cutest thing
I don't
with her
even,
little
I'm like, I
glasses.
remember when you were just, yeah, it's crazy. Time goes so fast. I mean, Dante's already 8 months old.
I feel like
Okay.
the older you get, the faster time goes, and it's like the scariest
I
thing.
am living in the world where they say that the days are slow, but the years are fast. Okay. My days creep on like every second. I am counting down till nap time, and
Right.
don't judge me. I know moms out there
Oh, I
who have
feel
been
that,
there.
Miko. I feel
Okay.
that. I
When
can't
you're
wait for like
literally,
7:45 to roll around on the
yeah,
nights
like,
I have
yep,
Rylan.
yep. Like I'm playing with James on the floor in his room and I am like looking at the clock. I'm like 9 a.m. bedtime, night,
No shame here, Miko. I'm the same way.
night. Okay. I
And you're
mean,
like so quiet when they go to bed, so you don't wake.
I know, I know. Oh, it is a struggle. Okay, so we got the update. And I think too, Ryen, what we'll do, maybe we'll do this once a month
Yeah,
or
let's
maybe
do
once
it.
every couple of months, at least bring you on. I know we get so many requests from community members to get up a life update. And in fact, it breaks my heart because I have so many community members say, is Ryen still there?
Oh, I'm here.
What do you mean? Yeah, she's still here. Like, where would she go?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so awesome, debt free. I'm
There's that.
excited to find out what you decide to do with some of your extra discretionary income. And I
Yeah,
feel like one of the things, solidifying your financial goals. I always say you have to have really clear, specific financial goals in your life to have purpose, right? To have
right,
direction,
right.
to know what to do with extra income when you do have it. It's just getting to the place where you know what you want. And that's a really hard question to answer. I mean, I remember when I was going through therapy and she asked me what makes me happy, and I couldn't even answer that. And that was such a surprising thing. And I
Wow.
think like solidifying your goals and getting to that point is also like this self-discovery journey of figuring out what you truly want, not
Right,
just
and
from
what
your
truly
money.
matters.
Yeah, not exactly like
Yeah,
what you want, not just from your money, but for your life.
right, right. It's deep. It's
It
so
is,
deep.
it is deep. It is deep. But I
Yeah.
think that once you get there, you have a completely different outlook on what saving and investing means.
Yeah, I can understand. And investing is definitely, I know I want to open up a 529 for Rylan now that I can.
That's so sweet.
And that's
Yes.
really like, the
Yeah.
only big thing. Obviously, increasing, maybe even maxing out my 401k with work, there's all those things. But as far as like what I want, the goals, like
Mhm.
what I want in my life, I
Mhm.
have no freaking clue.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. Like of course, you have the goals that need to be there, right?
Right.
Investing for retirement, like you said, opening a 529 for Ryan. By the way, yes, you can open a 529 and not be a parent. You can be a family member. You can still do that. So if you want to open a 529 for your grandchild, your niece or your
Mhm.
nephew, whatever, you can.
Mhm.
So little investing tidbit in there. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things. I'm excited to know what you decide to do
Me
because
too, Miko. I'm excited to figure it out.
yeah, I mean, having those things that need to be there is important, but also I always say, like, one of my main thing is don't leave the big dreams for the millionaires.
Mhm.
In order to make it worth it, in order to keep you motivated and dedicated and self-disciplined, you cannot forget about yourself.
Right,
Have the
right.
things in there that you need, investing for retirement, all those things. But then you have to, it's okay. What I'm saying, it's okay to have savings goals and dreams for yourself that don't necessarily fall into the realm of that needs to happen.
Yes,
It's
yes.
it's I want this for myself and I'm just figuring it out how to get there and do it responsibly.
That's so true, and I see it all the time in, like, TBM family and the Facebook group and stuff about people struggling with, like, spending money on themselves, because they get in such a thing of, like,
Mhm.
every extra dollar has to go towards debt or every extra, goes
Yep.
towards X or whatever, that
Oh,
they,
that
like, it's
yeah.
like an anxiety thing that they, like, "No, I
Oh,
can't go on that vacation, I can't
oh
do
yeah.
that."
Or I can't I have an emergency, but I can't spend my emergency fund because I don't want to see it decrease.
Right.
Yeah, this is one of the it's all about your relationship with money.
Yeah,
All those fears, anxieties, worries, stressors, the things that you feel when you spend, when you don't spend, the feelings you have around your savings and watching it accumulate and deplete. All of that has to do with your relationship with either spending money, accumulating money, managing
yeah.
money, and it's something we have to look at and understand about
Right.
ourselves.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
it's funny. Yeah, it's a weird dynamic for sure. Okay, so I will make sure that we have you back on probably next month or the month after. Just continue to do these.
Yay.
But she's
Yeah, I
still
love
here,
it.
guys.
I know, hello.
Ryan's still here. So we'll jump into now. I'm going to show you my full March budget recap, and it ain't pretty because I spent over $8,000 on something,
Oh, yeah.
and it's one of those things that it needed to happen, but I hate it.
But I hate it
So,
anyway.
all right, we'll talk to you later. Bye, Ryan.
Right.
So before we get into my full March budget recap, I want to show you my March paycheck budget tracker. Now, throughout the month, as the month is happening, as things are coming out of my account, as I'm paying things, I will go through and write down in the actual column when things are actually leaving my checking account. And the reason I do that is to compare my actual spending with my budget spending. Now, when I do that, you'll see that I actually had $28 left over instead of zero like I had budgeted for because some of my bills were less than expected. I didn't spend as much maybe as my variable spending. And so I had to decide what I wanted to do with that money. Now you can do that at the end of the month or during the month. For me, I saved $15 for my $5 challenge. That left me $13 left after everything was said and done. I decided just to leave it in my checking account for my checking account cushion. So your budget amount is what you're predicting that you're going to spend. It's an estimation, it's a plan. What you're actually spending is what's truly coming out of your checking account for these different expenses. What are you actually spending from your cash envelopes? What are you actually saving for your savings goals? Now, these usually always match up for me because for me, I like to pay myself first, which means I'm saving my money before any of my bills come out. And that's how I usually like my routine and how I like things set up. So that's my paycheck budget tracker. Let's look at my Where Did My Money Go worksheets. So these are my Where Did My Money Go worksheets. Let's look at first at my monthly budget category breakdown. So remember, people see this total monthly inflow and they always come at me like, oh my gosh, Miko, you made so much money in March. No, my inflow does not equal my earned income. This is what inflow equals your starting balance. What did you start the month with in your checking account? So on the first day of your new tracking period, now I do it from the beginning of the month to the end of the month, On the first day of your tracking period, what do you have in your checking account? That's your starting balance. So on the 1st of March, when I started this tracking period, I had $564 in my checking account. I had earned income of $5,600, other income of $600. Now, other income is like maybe money Chris gives me. Maybe I got a refund of some sort. Maybe I sold some things on Mercari. That's other income. Savings used. This is money that I saved in a previous tracking period in a previous month that I am now using in this current month. And we'll be going over why this is so high, because I had something called property taxes due that I paid in March. That's my total inflow. Starting balance plus earned income plus other income plus savings used is $16,493. Now, if we were talking just about my earned income, my paycheck, $5,600. And this is what you usually see when people share their income. I don't. I share all of this because I'm using all of it in this month for spending. Here's all my different budget categories. Now, if it's in red, I was over budget. If it's in green, I was under budget. A lot of over budget. Now, you might be saying, well, Miko, if you were over in that budget, where did the money come from you to spend? So I categorize anything as over budget if I wasn't planning on spending it. It doesn't mean that I didn't have the money maybe saved in a savings account. I just didn't plan for it. So for instance, okay, so food, $438 over. I had to pull cash from all of my other variable envelopes and use some of my checking account cushion and use some of my Costco savings to account for this huge overspending in my food. And I wouldn't even say overspending, I would say realistic spending. I've been in denial for a very long time, which is why you're going to see in April, I'm increasing my food budget from $500 to $900. Because for the last 4 months, I've been closer to $900. And that's with me not overspending. It's just me buying the same stuff, prices just skyrocketing, food prices. Okay, and I did make a more conscious decision to eat healthier, which also can get a little more spendy. Fun and entertainment over $48. And then I was over my garden. But see, I wasn't planning on spending my money in my garden for my garden, but I had a garden sinking fund to cover it. So that's where I pulled that money. Household over by $131, pets over by $254. Now, if we go over to my expense tracker very quickly, like you can see, I'm pulling a lot of my savings to make up for all these areas I was drastically over budget. Costco sinking fund. There's another place where I had Costco sinking fund. If we look at this side, I'm using pest control sinking fund, pet sinking fund, property tax sinking fund, garden sinking fund. I'm using a lot of savings. So that's where I am getting a lot of how I'm covering when you're seeing this over budget like this. All right, so I was off by $16. Now, anytime, most of the time I zero out, but if you're off by a few dollars, let it go. Move on. I get so many requests, people being so stuck on being off when you close out your budget. Off being your monthly inflow does not match your expenses. Your inflow income should match what you are spending. If it doesn't, something happened with your tracking. Or you're in the red truly and you are overspending from your income. For me, it was just I tracked something, maybe I missed something, but it's only $16. I ain't worried about it. I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm moving on, moving forward. So let's go ahead and look at my March monthly debt and savings breakdown. Now I am debt free, so I track my investments instead. I read a comment on my Instagram. Someone said something, I don't know, I'm not gonna remember it word for word, but they said, what a flex it is to be able to say I'm debt free and instead I track my investments. And I thought, geez, that's so true. Yes, I invest outside of retirement. Now I budget my net income. So my retirement contributions come out of my paycheck before I see it. So this is everything that I'm investing from my income, my net income. $500 to 529, $200 to joint account, and $100 to my individual accounts. Now, I get a lot of people ask, what is a TOD? Transfer on death. It's just meaning I set up beneficiaries on my individual account in case anything happened to me, they knew who I wanted the money to go to. I invested about 5% of my inflow, $800. Now come over here to savings. I use my inflow for my investments. I use my income for my savings. My income does not include savings used. That big $9,729, this part of the equation right here, I did not use that when I'm calculating my savings because I am not going to use savings used to save. So I removed it from the equation. And if we're looking just at my income, I saved 25% of my income. 99% went towards sinking funds. The rest went towards my $5 challenge. The reason I split these, now I see a lot of people, I saved this much this month. I paid off this much debt this month. Awesome. You know the monthly amount. But do you know exactly what debt you paid? Do you know exactly what savings goals you saved for? Especially if you're saving or have multiple financial goals. I'm not just saving for one thing. I'm not just investing for one thing. I'm doing, and most of the time in your life, you're going to be doing multiple goals at one time, even though the most common financial advice you will hear is only save for one goal at a time. Focus on one financial goal at a time. You're going to make the quickest amount of progress. It's true. But in life, it doesn't work that way sometimes. And so I like to break my categories down because I like to make sure that my money is going towards the things that are the most important in order of priority. So if I look at this and I say, okay, Miko, what is priority to you when it comes to your investments outside of retirement? Retirement's always number one. And I can guarantee you when it comes to my investments, I am investing more to retirement than any other of these areas because it's priority number one. It's a long-term goal, but it's priority number one. I have 529s, a long-term goal. And then the joint and my individual accounts, those I wouldn't say have a term. They are more if I have money left over. If I have, I'll do more towards these things outside of my normal contributions if I have it. But my retirement and the 529s come first. If you look at the percentage amounts, 62% of the money I invested went to 529s. 25% went to the joint account. 12% went to my individuals. If I ask myself, Miko, if I were to order these based on these percentages, does it match up with the order of priority and importance in my life? And it does. That's why I like to break it down. It shows you and ensures that you are throwing your money to the correct things in the order that you want. Now, the last worksheet is my monthly spending comparison. I like to see how did my spending compare to last month. So we're looking at March versus February. If it's in red, I spent more in March than I did in February. If it's in green, I spent less than. Now, I had a significant increase in my inflow just because I had the property taxes. I used a big chunk of my property tax sinking fund to pay for that huge expense. That's what accounted for that increase. Now, obviously, if you have an increase in your inflow, your spending or your savings or your investment is going to reflect that. It did for me. So food up by 187. I was over, like I wasn't planning. And garden, I didn't spend anything in the garden, so I was over there. But look at household. I spent $9,156 more than I did in February. Why? Because of those property taxes. This tells me if I am not only meeting short-term goals that I'm giving myself, like I like to give myself small goals from month to month, but it also can help me solidify trends that I'm seeing or just become more knowledgeable about my spending in certain months. I know in March and I know in February, those are my two big household spending months because in February, I'm paying property taxes. In March, like, look at my insurance in February because I had house insurance due. And then March, I'm paying my property taxes, which is $10,000 here, $9,000 here. So I know that these are going to be really big on my insurance and household categories. It just knowledge, and knowledge is power. So also being very honest here with my meal plan for March, I stuck it out. I got 100% planned out through about the halfway through the month. The last 2 months, I really had to make it work. We were pulling different meats from the freezer. We were making a lot of spaghetti, homemade pizza, sourdough pizza, salad. I did a couple of things, rotisserie chicken from Costco when we did a Costco run, a Costco salad. We had to make it work for these 2 weeks, but I'm hoping in April, you can see I'm already on it for April. I have the first week done and planned out, and we're doing Whole30 type of recipes for April. So that is my full monthly budget recap for March. Now, if you're sitting here saying, gosh, that's a lot of work to fill out those 3 worksheets, I fill these out a little bit at a time throughout the month. And that way I'm just filling in certain things. Literally takes me 10, 15 minutes at the end of the month. And boy, it's so worth it, because the knowledge that I gain from doing this, I will tell you right now, if you are writing and tracking your spending, if you are tracking your spending every single month and then you just move on, you never look at it again, you shouldn't even be tracking your spending in the first place. You are not going to learn or gain the knowledge that you need to simply just by writing it down and then never looking at it again. The purpose of writing down and tracking your spending is to analyze it, is to understand it, is to know it, is to learn it. You have to understand by looking at this crazy, chaotic data dump what it's telling you. And from that knowledge that you gain from this information by extracting what you need to from it, then that's when you can make the tweaks and changes you need to make your budget better going forward. That's why I use the Where Did My Money Go worksheets, because it helps me extract that important information from all the hard work I put into tracking my spending. It helps me know the information I need to in order to make my budget. And that's why my budget is a successful budget in my life. So that is my full monthly budget recap. Okay, so that's my full March budget recap, and I'm so excited Ryen was able to come on and kind of give us a little budget life update. I'll make sure to bring her on in the next couple months so we can keep updated with what she decides to do now that she is debt free. If you found this video helpful, please like it and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube show. Nope. Welcome to the... It is a show.
Might as well be.
Yeah, might as well be the Miko show, geez.